Hello, and what is going on, everybody? It is Master of the TDS, and I'm joined by my lovely wife,
WritingRaven.
And we're back for another episode of Psycho-Synopsis.
Indeed.
A segment where we summarize all the Psycho for you. Just a scattering of topics throughout the week, all summarized into one neat little package for you to enjoy and consume at your leisure.
You're welcome.
So, lately we've been cutting out one particular topic and making its own individual video, and it actually seems to be bringing in some more traffic, so we will be doing that, so stay tuned for one of these topics to be their own video on Monday. If you watch this video, you don't have to watch it again, but if you want to do it anyways, you're more than welcome to.
I mean, hey, more views for us.
We got a bunch of topics to discuss today, so without further ado,
let us bring in our first client, the Rings of Power.
We're barely holding on. Send help!
No, I don't think I will.
Amazon studio boss Jennifer Sulkey is unfazed by Warner Bros. New Lord of the Rings movies. She claims, quote, "We have enough fan love to sustain," end quote, despite the show's failure to make the top 15 stream shows of 2022.
Is she delusional?
I think that she just recognizes that her show is not doing well, and to keep in mind that this show is not doing well. It was not done well. I don't know where the budget went for it. And again, to clarify, myself and Raven have not seen The Rings of Power. We have made some memes on it.
I mean, yeah, considering the Britney Spears one you did, which was the best of them all.
Yeah, and then it got taken off Twitter because it was copyright struck by not Amazon.
Either way, the fact that people were actually believing that the Britney Spears song was the actual music of that scene was downright hilarious.
It was funny because it was like, they were like, Britney slays, what are you talking about? This is amazing. And I'm like, you do realize that I'm the one who added the music, right?
No, they don't. They're that stupid.
But this show's getting a second season. Hearing about new Warner Brothers Lord of the Rings movie has me excited, but also very skeptical.
Definitely skeptical.
The things they've said so far sound pretty good. They want to respect the lore and whatever, but we've had the same thing said before. So I'm interested to see what they put out there, because either way, either it'll be good movies that we'll enjoy, or it will be good content to make content on, which we will get money of, which we enjoy.
Oh yeah, that too.
I'm obviously, you don't have to send money. I'm just making a joke.
But please do.
No.
Come on.
But it's funny that she's unfazed. If they get Peter Jackson to come back, which they're actually thinking about, that would be amazing.
Yes, it would, because he did a really good job with the movies.
And whatever he makes will be way better than your garbage.
Indeed it will.
And I don't expect the show to do very well for its second season. I expect the same kind of tired old narratives to be dragged back out. But I think it's funny that you guys had to comment because you say you're unfazed and that fan love is enough to sustain. I'm sorry to break this to you, but 4 fans on Twitter are not enough to sustain your company.
Even if they have multiple accounts.
Yeah. Just because people on Twitter will tweet about it doesn't mean they watched. And removing people's reviews and hiding reviews isn't going to stop this. You dug your own grave, now lay in it.
Indeed. Let's move on. And next up, speaking of shows, we have The Mandalorian!
You haven't killed me yet.
But they're trying to, apparently, I think.
The first episode of the 3rd season of The Mandalorian revealed how the series dealt with the unjust firing of Gina Carano and the fate of her character, Cara Dune.
And how did they do so? Because I don't remember seeing that.
They did. They had a throwaway line about it, basically saying, like, someone was saying, I need a marshal, and then Din Djarin said, how about Marshal Dune? And she basically said, oh, after what she did, she got picked up by a security detail for some person.
But given how badass the character was, that doesn't make any sense. Which, I mean, I'm pretty sure there have been talks about recasting Cara Dune.
Which would be a bad idea.
Yeah, it would be an extremely bad idea, because Gina's perfect for the role.
Whether you like Gina or not, I think the whole controversy around her in the show is really ridiculous. I think it's funny that literally she was trending on Twitter and articles being written about this one line more than the actual first episode. Maybe it just shows that you did a mistake. You did an oopsie Disney. I'm not interested in The Mandalorian anymore. I did watch the first season. I did not watch the second.
No interest, really.
Like, no, I've heard it's a good show, and I don't doubt that it is. But for me, I'm kind of done with Star Wars. I think it's funny that Gina was the talk of the town. And I do think they unjustly fired her. Now, I do think that if she had remained on, I might have wanted to continue watching and whatever, but the way that they treated her and fans who were supporting her around the show, that's the main reason I stopped Star Wars. I mean, I didn't like that Luke threw his lightsaber over his shoulder in The Last Jedi, but the thing that bothered me the most was how they treated fans. They were attacking fans who didn't like it, and it's like, if they had just not done that, maybe I would still be a Star Wars fan.
Maybe I would still continue my Clone Wars fan fiction, which people have asked me to do, but I haven't had any interest in doing so.
Yeah, and again, I think this show is probably the best Star Wars stuff that we've gotten lately. But again, like, when I saw them doing the same tired old narratives, when throwing Gina under the bus, it was just like, oh, yes, a reminder of how much I hate this fandom now. And so, yes, I'll make posts on Twitter, and I'll chronicle its demise, and I'll laugh at certain things. But as far as watching the show, count me out.
Yeah, same. Moving on. And speaking of Star Wars, we have Dave Filoni.
Is this a Jedi?
What a dumbass.
Dave Filoni, the executive producer on The Mandalorian, revealed in a recent interview he did not think Luke Skywalker was a Jedi.
Is he dumb?
Yes, but I want to clarify. So I read the article and I read his comments more, and I think that this is slightly exaggerated. I don't think that he was saying that Luke wasn't a Jedi. It seemed more like he was saying that he didn't think Luke was a Jedi until a certain point. I don't know. It was a little confusing to try to make sense of his comments, but I don't think it was meant in like a malicious way, like, oh, Luke's not a Jedi and I just didn't know about it. It sounded more like he either got confused or his general knowledge isn't that good, which is a problem. But I don't think he was, like, throwing shade at Luke. I think he just genuinely didn't understand what was going on, or he was trying to say something a certain way and completely failed at it.
Yeah, probably. Or maybe both.
As I said, I'm not as big of a fan of Star Wars anymore. I don't know about my wife. I think she's kind of done with it, too.
At this point, yeah, maybe I'll continue The Clone Assassin at some point, but like I said, right now I have no interest. Plus, too many other projects.
We have a lot of other things in the works that we are actually going to be interested to share with you, including a project of our own, which we are working on, and some projects we are working for under the Epicverse. You should check out the Epicverse if you have not already. Luke Skywalker will always be a symbol that, no matter how much they try to tarnish, will not have changed. They can try so much, and again, it did affect people. But Luke will always be a Jedi, and Luke will always be a Skywalker. And you can cry and scream and yell and say, raise this and whatever, and that's fine. Do whatever you want. If you enjoyed the sequel trilogy, enjoy it. But he will always be a Jedi. He will always be a symbol. I will always remember watching Star Wars with my dad, and I will always have a place in my heart for Star Wars. I wish that I could open that place in my heart up again to new stuff, interesting stuff, good stuff, and maybe one day we will get that. But as of now, the people in charge evidently have made it very clear they aren't very competent.
Indeed.
And that's being nice.
Moving on. And speaking of incompetence, we have the guy in charge of Modoc.
Jeff Loveness, in an interview with the Daily Beast, talked about the film's negative reception by stating he is proud of the film's writing and disagrees with the negative backlash the movie has received.
What kind of name is Loveness?
I don't know. Now, why we're talking about this, again, he made the film, he has every right to defend it.
Yeah.
But how he commented about it and how he made this assumption is the issue. He had said that he was very surprised by the negative reaction. A spoiler alert, doesn't matter how good of a movie you make, there will be negative reactions.
Always will be.
And he was upset, but he went into theater and saw it and people were laughing, so he decided, no, I'm right, Modoc is good.
No. First off, you stripped him of his hair and he looks like Humpty Dumpty.
And the dialogue for him, we're not going to repeat it here, but oh my god, was so bad.
it was worse than Titanic dialogue, and Titanic is the perfect example of how not to write dialogue.
His statement that made me decide that it was time for us to talk about him was when he specifically said that he is never going to make Modoc serious and that he's a big dumbhead and he's going to make him funny and he's not going to change it for, quote, the 4 fans who want it.
That is quite the statement.
Basically, there's no problem here if he wants to say that he enjoyed the movie and that he worked hard on it. Nobody cares if that's the case. The problem is when you come out and literally start saying basically that attacking fans. I understand maybe you're upset that the film didn't do well, but you only wrote for Rick and Morty and Jimmy Fallon.
Basically, you only have experience in comedy.
So it's not a shock that your first movie didn't do very well.
Seriously, if you only know how to write poor comedy.
So maybe instead take the criticism on the chin, say, hey, I thought it was pretty good, whatever, and move on. Don't attack fans, don't make comments, it's not going to help you, and you're planning to make more movies for the MCU later on. Kang Dynasty is supposed to be yours. I guarantee you just turned away a bunch of your potential audience just by those comments alone.
I agree. Shall we move on? And speaking of Marvel, we have India Spider-Man.
Way cool, and all I ever wanted to be was a movie star.
I actually like the design of this character in the comics more than I do this new design.
Karan Soni is making the leap into the animated world of Marvel films and is set to voice the role of Spider-Man India in the upcoming Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, but the outfit has seen some major changes.
Major changes is a major understatement.
Look at that hair.
What the hell is that? He looks like a girl.
Look, some people were saying how this is cool, and I don't see it, because maybe it looks better like animated. This concept art is obviously some kind of concept art. Maybe it's better if it was animated and maybe it looks better. We can hope. But why they couldn't have just gone with the actual India Spider-Man and not made whatever the heck this abomination is? I'm sorry, the hair hanging over his face like that he looks like Nacho Libre.
Oh my god, he does!
He looks like Nacho Libre.
I didn't even see that movie and I know what you're talking about. I am Nacho Libre. Perhaps you have heard of me. Nacho! Too loud?
I don't really have much else to say about this. I've read a little bit of the comics of India Spider-Man. I actually like them. I thought that was a very good, twist on Spider-Man. Whatever this costume is, it's really bad. Really bad. I don't know who made it, but I'd be embarrassed to show that in the movie.
I would say whoever made it has clearly no taste in fashion. And that's coming from a goth who never wears color.
Were they gay? What? Come on, you know if someone was thinking it.
Yeah, probably.
Obviously, this is meant as a joke. If you're upset about it and clip it out of context on Twitter, expect to be laughed at.
Yeah, seriously. But I've also read bits of India Spider-Man from the Spider-Verse comic when they were fighting that vampire family and his interaction with the Great Britain Spider-Man. And when he was talking about his teacher and all the different things that were so comparable to the others, and he was starting to doubt himself that he was a pale imitation of this Spider-Man, the other guy said, "Who's to say he's not a pale imitation of you?" And the look on his face was like, that revelation. And not to mention that his costume was so much better and seemed to be a much more genuine character that I could actually believe was part of the multiverse, unlike whatever is on the left here.
I don't know what that is. But I just saw this outfit and we just had to talk about it because, I'm sorry, I've never seen a Spider-Man costume that missed the mark more than this one.
You mean besides the black and gold one that was a fashion designer?
That actually looks better than this one.
Oh yeah, good point. It actually had a sense of style.
Look at this one and the clashing colors and the way that it's meant to do something, and then think of the other one, the gold and black one, and really ask yourself which is better.
The black one. The gold and black one.
Doesn't mean it's good, but it's definitely better than whatever this is meant to be.
It has better taste, at the very least. But anyway, we tire of this, so we shall move on to Neverland.
Poof! Your lore is gone.
Not surprised.
The first trailer for Peter Pan and Wendy has confirmed that Disney's upcoming live-action remake will feature a number of race and gender swaps to some of the beloved characters.
And it definitely seems that they have run out of redheads to swap.
So, I just want to say how funny it is that last week our diagnosis of the week was Peter Pan syndrome, and we had no clue this was coming out, and then suddenly Peter Pan news.
I know. It was great.
Stop listening to us!
Seriously, don't turn us into The Simpsons!
But see, we now have a race-swapped Peter Pan who doesn't have red hair. Again, you could have at least given him the red hair. That is his signature. Mm-hmm. And then we have pointed ears, black Tinkerbell.
Well, to be fair, Tinkerbell does have pointed ears.
Yes.
So does Peter Pan in the original Disney movie.
Yes, but there's already a black fairy that they could have just used in place of this. Mm-hmm. And they decided instead to make Tinkerbell black because these people are hacks.
Yeah, pretty much.
There's no other way of saying it. I have no problem with people being black. There's no issue with that. The problem is when you keep changing the lore and under the guise of it's diversity and inclusion, when in reality all it is to give yourself a defense against anybody who has any criticism of it. And if that's not enough, they're also striking videos that show any of the trailer.
Yeah, true. And also the fact that they now have girls among the Lost Boys when Wendy's daughter was supposed to be the first Lost girl.
And what bugs me about that is not that they did it. Do it and shut up about it. It's the fact that in the trailer, they're literally like, you're not all boys. And they go, so? How about stop trying to mock the fans? Stop it. And then they're going to claim racism and sexism because of this, and they're going to use that as a defense against their movie failing, when in reality it's already being only put on Disney Plus, which tells you exactly, they know exactly what they have here.
Yeah, Master is a pretty big fan of Peter Pan, and I mean the real Peter Pan from the books.
Yes, the books, including the Disney-approved prequel books to Peter Pan, which Peter and the Starcatchers, if you have not read that series, I would recommend it extremely highly. It is a very good series, and I think part of the magic for me was I actually didn't realize it was Peter Pan, and I don't know how. I didn't read the back of the book, I just thought it looked interesting. And I read it, and then I realized it was Peter Pan as I went along, so that's what got me hooked. There's 4 books in the main series, and then there's another book that kind of is supposed to bridge the gap to modern day, and then it kind of ended there, which is unfortunate. But it's a really good series. I highly recommend it. You find out how Tinkerbell was made. You find out how Peter learned to fly like that and doesn't age. You find out about Captain Hook. You find out about the floating ship. You find out about the crocodile, which, by the way, has a name. His name is Mr. Grin, which I thought was amazing. And you even find out why he ticks.
And also the shadow.
Yeah, and literally the villains are like this guy who controls shadows, and that's why Peter's shadow moves around independently. They did an amazing job with this. Like, it is so well done.
Definitely better than whatever we're gonna get here.
So, don't watch this. Go read those books. Trust me, you will thank me.
Indeed you will. We just ordered a few.
Yeah, because we were missing some in my collection, but I've read them all. They're very good. And this just goes to show you that Hollywood is out of ideas. They're just going to remake all these things, and they're going to race swap and gender swap because they have nothing else to defend their terrible products. That is all they do.
Yep.
So, and if you dare to say, well, the lore is not like that, whatever, it's, no, you're racist. No, it's because everybody thinks of Peter Pan, they think of the Disney version. Yes, that's not exactly the version from the books. Fair. But in the books, Tinkerbell was not black. The end.
Yeah, she's blonde.
So, again, even if the original source material displayed them a certain way, you have to also understand what look made them iconic. And they both had iconic looks. And if you literally showed me this and didn't tell me it was Peter Pan, I would think it was some random series that had nothing to do with it. Take a look. Do you look at this and think Peter Pan?
No. I don't know what I think.
I think some Disney film.
I think just some adventure story.
Yeah. So, not interested, boring, stupid, stop remaking things in live action, stop race swapping and gender swapping to protect yourself from criticism. You're boring, stupid, and nobody wants this garbage. Thank you.
The end. Moving on. And lastly, speaking of Disney, we have the Haunted Mansion! My favorite Disney ride.
A classic Disney theme park attraction is coming alive again in a new teaser trailer for the Haunted Mansion movie, not starring Eddie Murphy.
Because apparently the first one was bad, even though I've never seen it, but I still love the ride.
Don't see it. Put it this way. I have had movies that I don't like. My movie that I hate the most is actually Where the Wild Things Are. I think it was the worst movie I've ever seen in my life. But I watched that all the way through. There have been some movies that have been so bad that I've stopped in the middle of. And that's why Where the Wild Things Are is the worst for me, is because it's the movie that was the worst possible that I actually still finished. The ones that I never finished, I don't classify on the list. This was one of them. When literally they include the, of course, that's always my way line, and then it cuts to them on a stagecoach with bone horses chasing after something that you still have no idea what it's talking about, I was out.
I still love the ride. It's my favorite Disney ride, as I've said.
Yes, I love the ride too. I do think that Eddie Murphy tried his best. I think that film was just terrible. I want to see a Matterhorn film.
Yeah, Disney, why don't we have a Matterhorn film? What even is the Matterhorn besides a ride? We need an explanation for the Matterhorn, which is why Master wants a movie of the Matterhorn.
Yeah, I do. Now, I don't think Disney will do it justice, but it would be interesting to see that because they did Jungle Cruise. Why not? Why can't Matterhorn? Come on, Matterhorn is ripe for the picking. They seem to be taking a lot more inspiration from the movies in this one. Will it be good? Don't know. It's Disney, so we really can't say whether it's going to be good or not. Will it be better than the original? One can hope.
But I honestly doubt it, considering all the trash we've gotten so far.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I think it's nice that they're trying to reboot it. I think that it was obviously meant to be some kind of, like, series of movies, like Pirates of the Caribbean, and it never happened. Maybe this will jumpstart it. I don't know. Again, I'd rather see a Matterhorn movie, and I'd rather not see this. I think that, maybe they made some decent choices, but, Jared Leto's in it.
Yeah, and also, if nobody saw my post, Jamie Lee Curtis's costume makes her look like Queen Amidala.
Maybe it'll be good. We'll have to wait and see. Regardless, it's interesting that they're taking this route. We'll have to see kind of what occurs, but since it's Disney, you really have to come into this with a really healthy dose of skepticism, because it's no longer up to us to give them the benefit of the doubt. It is now their job to convince us to come watch the film.
Which they have yet to do.
So, we'll see.
Indeed. I still love the ride, though.
That, I can agree with you on.
Moving on. And with that being our last client of the day, it is time for us to reveal the diagnosis of the week.
And this week we have a diagnosis that I'm all too familiar with.
Unfortunately, do tell.
So the diagnosis for this week is obsessive compulsive disorder, or OCD.
Please explain.
So OCD, people like to think it's like people who wash their hands a lot or need to do certain rituals, and that is true, but it's not just that. It can also be thoughts of losing control, thoughts of aggression, not just having things orderly. It can kind of branch out into many different areas. And one of the things that I think that why this is a really good diagnosis for this week is because when you look at what Hollywood has done, Disney has done, they continue to do these same kinds of things over and over and over again. And they know it's not good, and they know people don't like it, but they repeat it over and over and over again. They demand reassurance from people that their products are good. We've catered to you, this community. Don't you like it? And normally they don't. We see these things over and over again for no apparent reason. They continue to do it, and when you push back, they get mad, strike back at you, but it's never their fault. It's never their problem, because just like with OCD, unless you're aware of the problem, you cannot actually solve it. And that's why I think this is a great diagnosis for this week.
I agree, especially given how much of an expert you are on OCD.
That is true. And now we move on to the remedy of the week.
And this week we are sending you to Drunk 3PO, specifically his new graphic novel,
Achromatic Chronicles Blue.
Indeed. He's a really great guy. He's been good to us, so we thought we'd give him a boost.
He's getting very close to 100,000 subscribers on his YouTube channel, so if you have not subscribed, go over there. He's a good guy. He made this book. It's a graphic novel. You can back it on Indiegogo. It has some more information on the book there. It looks interesting. It definitely has an interesting art style that you can check out for yourself, but we need to not just hate on things all of our lives. We need to also promote things, new content, new creations. And I think that there's definitely potential here. And so you guys really should go over and back it. Let him know that you support it, and let him know that you want more, because this is the only way that we win, is we have to make new things, not just hate on things that we don't like. Calling things out is one thing, but we really need to, as I said, appeal to the masses as well and give them content that they can enjoy and appreciate and show them what it is that we're missing.
Indeed. So grab your flagons, head on over there, and let him know that Gothic Therapy referred you.
Indeed. And check out his book. But that is all we have for this week. Let us know what you think in the comments below, and also make sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe with notifications on so you do not miss your weekly therapy session.
Or you will be charged. But remember, when you do subscribe, your first session is free, so smash those buttons like they're bad kitties. And do consider joining us at the dusk, midnight, or dawn level. We would appreciate it quite a lot. You can also find links to all of our socials in the description below, as well as links to our merch store and our Discord server known as The Clinic. Be sure to check them out. And if you don't want to continue watching us on YouTube, you can also find us on Rumble and Odyssey.
But that's all we have for this week, and we'll see you guys in the next one.
Gothic Therapy, out.